Welcome to the Riedell Report, brought to you by College Baseball Central, bringing you 90 feet closer to the greatest show on dirt. Now, here's your host.
Welcome back, College Baseball Central fans. A little special edition version of the Riedell Report as we're going Friday morning. There are 3 games in progress. LaSalle, Delaware State are playing in Philadelphia. The Andre Dawson Classic's happening up the road from me in Vero Beach between Texas Southern and Jackson State. And then across the state from me is the Snowbird Baseball Classic happening in Port Charlotte, Florida, home of the Tampa Bay Devil Rays spring training facility. As we go here, Illinois State and UMass Lowell are playing, but we have some first pitches about to happening. Baseball at the beach, Coastal Carolina's round robin's about to take place. We have a lot of round robins happening this weekend in college baseball. This is round robin weekend, in my opinion, as we have the M&G Bank College Baseball Series happening in Arlington, Texas. We're going to have a few College Baseball Central personnel there. The one and only Karen McGee will be there with his trench coach. Karen McGee will be there. We got a lot to talk about. I'm really glad that I'm doing this today, Friday, 11 a.m., an hour before first pitch. We got a lot to jump into. We're not going to talk mid-major today. We're going to talk all things college baseball today. Starting off with some news. Coastal Carolina is not having a good week. Wednesday night, it comes out that Cameron Fluke will not be making his scheduled start today. Kevin Schnall ended up saying it is some rib injury. It is not an arm injury, which is a good sign. But also for Coastal Carolina, they do lose preseason All-American Dominic Carbone on the mound. He had Tommy John surgery yesterday, which is a major loss for Coastal Carolina. And then on the other side of the country now with TCU, Tommy Lepore is not making his scheduled start against UCLA today with some arm soreness, which from what I'm hearing, it is a sigh of a relief for TCU fans. Nothing major happening there. But Tommy Lepore is out today against UCLA, as TCU and UCLA is where our founder, the one and only Noah Darling, he will be there attempting to ban the wave in Jackie Robinson Stadium, which I doubt there will be a lot of fans there supporting the number 1 team in the country, which is a shame. Other news, the Miami Hurricanes are down one of their starting outfielders, Max Galvin, who's out 6 to 8 weeks. He underwent surgery on a fractured right foot the other day, but they do return some other key pieces to the rotations. They bring back Rob Evans to start game 1 tomorrow in their Saturday doubleheader against Lafayette. And as it is just mentioned, Fabio time, baby. Yes, it is. It's Fabio Peralta time. He looked very good in the one game that I got to see for Miami. For me, though, if you're wondering, where's Andrew Riedell going to be? Where's Andrew going to be covering college baseball this week? I'm going to be all over the state of Florida. Tomorrow, I'm going to be in DeLand covering the Stetson tournament between Stetson and Virginia. And then Sunday, I'll be catching the finale of Iowa and FAU, which should be a very fun series. I wish I can get to game 1 tonight, but I work. The reason I couldn't have the show last night is because I have work. I am a high school baseball coach. We won, and my truck's working again, so we're going in the right direction here. We're going to jump into it. Today, we're going to be using our good friend over at CBC Pair Ratings. As I decided, I'm just going to go with this view on here we go. We're going to go over some of the top games today in the country. We have a lot going on today. A lot. Starting off in about 54 minutes now, we have Michigan and Florida State. There's been some news in Florida State as well, as Trey Beard is questionable to make a start this week. He did not make his scheduled start last week due to an illness, and he hasn't been quite up to 100%. Per some sources of mine, they're still trying to see if he is going to be available for even Sunday. But they have one of the more fun games to start at noon. They face a scorching hot Michigan team that is 3-1 to start the year. They split with Oregon State over in Arizona, but they did take a game from Arizona as well. It was a very good week for Michigan last week. Florida State's throwing Wes Mendez to start their weekend off in Arlington, and Michigan is going with, I just had it up, Michigan's going with Tate Carey to start that game off today for the Wolverines. This is a very fun game. Florida State last week, they had James Madison, not the toppest of tiers in college baseball, but going into Arlington is a good test for the Seminoles. It's a good test for the Seminoles, as I believe that they do have one of the best players in college baseball in Miles Bailey, and they are just getting stronger and stronger as the season will go, as they do have one of the top pitching staffs with Wes Mendez and Trey Beard leading the way, even if Trey Beard is not healthy game one. I do believe that it is going to be a very successful week for the FSU Seminoles, as they have tomorrow, they will have Auburn at 2:30. They have Auburn at 3:00, and then on Sunday they play the Nebraska Cornhuskers on Sunday. But let's take a look at this. College baseball series. Amegy Bank sponsoring it at Globe Life Field. This is a very fun weekend. If you are in the Arlington area, go support Shriners Children. It's a great cause. There's going to be a lot of good college baseball played there. Michigan and FSU kicking us off in about 52 minutes now. Then we're heading over to Nebraska and Louisville. Louisville coming off a struggling week, but they did pick up a midweek win over Xavier. Even though their pitching still struggled, the bats came alive for a whopping 20-plus runs against Nebraska. Nebraska had a very successful week last week in Arizona, too, only dropping one game on Monday to Stanford in a back-and-forth game. And then Auburn and Kansas State. Kansas State also had a very successful weekend in Arizona. Same with Auburn. Auburn went 2-1 again, or no, they went 3-0 against the Youngstown State. That did push them to the. They faced some adversity. It was 2-1 in the first two games. That second game going to extra innings, and then blowing it open game 3. Justin Marchano going against Kansas State tonight. Marchano struck out 11 last week for Auburn. Auburn's rotation last week kind of surprised some people. They returned a few guys. They returned Andreas Alvarez. They returned Christian Chatterton. Both guys weren't in the starting rotation to start last week. This week is a very good test for the Auburn Tigers, who is a top 10 team, and Kansas State with Pete Hughes. They're looking to make some noise. This Kansas State team, if you ask Big 12 shill, Noah Darling, how it's going to be a very tall task for this Kansas State team to come in and make some noise. But they do have the bats to do it. They had a very successful week last week. That game, that Saturday's a very loaded slate. Louisville, Michigan that's like primetime football right there. Like, these are some very good quality football matchups, especially this game right here, a rematch of the last BCS national championship game between FSU and Auburn. But if you're in the Arlington area, I recommend you go check it out. Next up, we're going to go back to pair. We're heading over to not Oregon State, but we're going to be checking out this game between Baylor and Oregon State kicking off at later tonight, as this is the Round Rock Classic in Texas, Frisco, Texas, I believe. Round Rock, Texas. I'm not the best geographically. This is a 4-team round robin. Purdue and Southern Miss will kick us off at 2 p.m. Oregon State and Baylor is the 7 p.m. game. Baylor, Purdue tomorrow at 2 p.m. Southern Miss and Oregon State tomorrow at 6. That is probably the game of the week. Purdue, Oregon State on Sunday, and then Southern Miss, Baylor on 3 p.m. to round out the Round Rock Classic. This this is another very loaded slate. Purdue is probably the odd man out here with people not knowing a lot about them. This Purdue team's a very scrappy team. They lost a lot of pieces in the portal last year, but they could easily come in here and make some noise. Last year in Frisco, it was a few teams kind of making noise. Baylor was one of those teams last year in one of these round robin tournaments. They came in. It was actually in Arlington. They came in, swept the weekend, put everyone on notice. Same with Auburn last year. Going into Arlington, going into these Texas round robins, a very good opportunity to make a lot of noise. Purdue and Southern Miss will kick us off. I believe Southern Miss will get the win with Kobe Allen on the mound, but my attention turns here to Oregon State and Baylor. Baylor had a very successful weekend last week with sweeping New Mexico State and then taking the midweek against Texas State 14-4. Oregon State will obviously be throwing Dax Whitney tonight. And tonight, the starter for Baylor will be Stephon Stahl, who had a very solid outing. Obviously, the viral sensation from last week, Tice Armstrong, who hit 3 grand slams, 3 home runs, 12 RBIs, topping Shea Langlier's previous record of 11 set against University of Nebraska Omaha. This Tice Armstrong fella, true redshirt senior. He's only the second player in NCAA history to hit 3 grand slams in the same game, which that's like an anomaly in this sport. It's not an anomaly like a no-hitter, but it's kind of like the 4 home run game. Maybe even more rare than the 4 home run game. 3 grand slams in one game is a truly unbelievable feat. As you see here, Oregon State does have the upper hand, being favored by pairs ratings, 2-0. Oregon State, though, did struggle a little last week. They did face some adversity very early, but this is a very interesting Oregon State team. Last year, we saw this team get to Omaha. And when I talked to Mitch Canham in Omaha last year, asking him about a lot of these early road trips, he said next year, they're going to get him back. But starting your first 2 weekends on the road is always a tough task. You don't see that usually with Oregon and Oregon State. You see Oregon's actually at home this weekend facing Youngstown State. Oregon State, obviously the opposite of now. They are an independent team for this year before the revamped Big 12 takes place next year. This Oregon State team facing a lot of adversity early, and it's not the adversity you think of. It's the adversity that you see some of these Northeastern schools face off. Minnesota, Northeastern. These are 2 schools facing MLB teams today. We'll talk about that in a minute. But But Oregon State, a powerhouse. This is a powerhouse, a blue blood in college baseball, you can say. Coming down here because they're independent and having to go on these long road trips. I get it. It's back-to-back invitational, those round robins. It's still a very tricky task. Coming in, facing off of Baylor, Southern Miss tomorrow, that's going to be a phenomenal game. Both aces won't be going, but Oregon State does have one of the best rotations in college baseball. So I expect Oregon State to really face some more adversity this weekend, but don't count out Mitch Thompson and those Baylor Bears. They impressed a lot of people last week. I get it. New Mexico State's a middle of the pack team out west, but being able to take care of those opponents, and this is kind of, it's a home game for Baylor. You're still in Texas. I get it. You're not near the border. You're not near Waco. You're going west, actually, I believe, or east. I don't know. Texas is pretty big. I'm not a Texas guy. This is kind of a home game for Baylor if Baylor does travel their fans well. Oregon State, a lot of parents will be there, but I'm not going to be seeing a lot of Oregon State fans there, in my opinion. Baylor can easily make this a very interesting weekend for themselves. I think they have a case to go 3-0 or even 2-1 in this weekend. I'm very excited to see this Baylor rotation go off pitch as well. Ethan Calder gets to start tomorrow, and Cade Henson rounds it off against Southern Miss. Next up, we're going to be talking about is this TCU and UCLA series. I talked about it earlier. Tommy Laporte is not getting the start for TCU. He is dealing with some arm soreness, but this TCU team, I believe, is one of the best teams. This is a top 5 matchup in college baseball, in my opinion. UCLA did not, or TCU didn't put UCLA starters on there, but TCU is going with Mason Brassfield tonight instead of Laporte, Lance Davis on Saturday, Yuli Fernsler, my bad, for the weekend, as UCLA, the number 1 team in the country, is going with, they will be going with Logan Redeman, the San Diego transfer, tonight, Michael Barnett tomorrow, and Landon Stump on Sunday, hoping to stump the TCU Horned Frogs and their hot start. TCU obviously was one of the big talking points of last week, going 2-1 in Arlington. Their only loss was to the red-hot Oklahoma Sooners. This UCLA team going 3-1 last week against UC San Diego, and then taking a game against Tulane. But if you ask the Tulane fans, that game did not happen. It got rained out. I don't know what you're talking about. Obviously, our founder, No Darling, will have his boots on the ground if he was able to check into a hotel. This UCLA team obviously having the best player, not the best, one of the best players in college baseball, in Rock Cholowiski, bringing in Texas transfer Will Gasparino. They've both each homered 3 times in the first 4 games. Molavi Lavu leads the team in hitting an outrageous 529 right now. And this is a very experienced, but experienced UCLA team, as they return majority of their starters from last year, and then they bring in an experienced SEC bat and Will Gasparino. TCU, on the other hand, they had a very successful week. Noah Franco, Lucas Franco were obviously 2 of the big talking points last week for TCU, Lucas Franco hitting his first home run, as it seems like TCU just gets a stud freshman every year. And then I can't mention best college baseball players without mentioning another one of the best in college baseball, and Sawyer Shaw-Snyder. He's an early front runner for the Golden Spikes. They went 2-2 actually in TCU. My bad. They lost the UT Arlington after giving up a 9 spot in the first inning. So that's something to keep an eye out for, actually. The TCU pitching did struggle in those last 2 games. That's something to watch out going into UCLA. But Lucas Franco, freshman, Sawyer Shaw-Snyder, one of the best players in college baseball, and Noah Franco, and was named the Big 12 pitcher of the week, going 4 innings out of the bullpen last week, and solidifying that win against Arkansas. Picking up 2 wins against Arkansas and Vanderbilt last week. Vanderbilt, I think, is going to struggle this year a little, but Arkansas being one of the best, a powerhouse in college baseball, obviously missing that national championship to keep them in that blue blood conversation, maybe. I really like, this is going to be a very, we see it with the pairs ratings here. I don't think anyone's sweeping this weekend. I don't think, even if Tommy Laporte was throwing today, I'd be here I think TCU wins Friday. I don't think UCLA is going to sweep this one. I think UCLA will take 2 out of 3, but I'm very excited to see this one. I think TCU has the pitchability to go into UCLA and really throw them off their game. UCLA, obviously, they faced adversity in the UC San Diego game last Sunday, but TCU, Kirk Saarloos, will be able to come in and put pressure right off the get-go and really really put pressure on Coach Savage and his UCLA squad out there. Next up, let's go to the net top 25 and find a good one here. Actually, I did want to talk about this one. Xavier and Arkansas. Xavier, they're 2-2 now, but they are just coming off of a huge win in a huge series win in the jungle in East Carolina. We'll talk about East Carolina UNC coming up in a minute, but I wanted to hit on a mid-major preview for Xavier going into Arkansas. This is a Xavier team that really shocked me last week. I've said it a lot already with Billy O'Connor, their head coach. He has cojones, as they say. I don't know if I can say I can't probably say balls, but he has some big balls, and he cannot lie as he loads up his schedule. They just played a midweek at Louisville. They have midweeks against Tennessee. They play some of the best in the country because they believe they are the best in the country. Xavier going to be in that top of the Big East, especially if UConn still struggles. They did pick up a nice win at Arizona last night in extra innings. But that Big East is really a three-team race right now, in my opinion, with Xavier, Creighton, UConn. I believe that Xavier can take a game here. I can see Arkansas sweeping. I can see Arkansas's bats staying alive, coming hot, and really taking advantage of the Xavier pitching. And going, it's a big swing from going to the jungle to Baum Walker. I believe it's going to be a very rough weekend for Xavier, but I wouldn't be surprised if they take a game out of Fayetteville. That's a win for them. If they go 1-2 this weekend, that's a win for them. Next up, there's another big mid-major series I wanted to talk about, and that is Tennessee and Kent State. Obviously, some sad news coming out of Tennessee as Wes Rucker has passed away last night. My heart is with him and his family. College Baseball Central sends their prayers to the Rucker family. This is going to be a very tough weekend in Tennessee now, emotional wise, as he was one of the best to do it in this area. I got to meet him last year. My interaction was very brief with him, but still one of the best. He did this the right way. So it's going to be a very tough weekend in Knoxville now without his presence there, but still going to be a fun weekend. And Tennessee is really going to be playing this series for him, in my opinion. But Tennessee and Kent State comes in 3-1, dropping a loss at LSU. That they were in that game. They lose that game 10-7. Those bats really came alive against LSU pitching. The LSU bullpen did struggle. Kent State was able to put some really good swings on some really good pitches. They come into Tennessee. Kent State's sticking with the same rotation with Karen Coffey, Easton Toomas, and it's Battling, the Sunday guy. Tennessee's going Tegan Coons, Landon Mag, Evan Blanco. The rotation is set for Coons to throw today with Blanco and Max still to be determined. It's set Saturday or Sunday. I guess we'll find that out tonight after game one. This Tennessee team comes in guns a-blazing with just four really belt-to-ass victories. Blaine Brown getting the start on Tuesday, but the Rice transfer has come in guns a-blazing, swinging the schnot out of the bat right now. He's got 3 home runs. This is a very loaded Tennessee lineup. We can go on and on about this, but Kent State, I really want to harp on. This Kent State team went into Southeastern. They went to Hammond America. Sawyer Storilla, he goes into Louisiana, comes out with 4 home runs, leading the nation with 10 hits already. This kid just came in guns a-blazing as well. But going from the box to Lindsey Nelson shouldn't really be that big of an adjustment change. The box is one of the loudest places to play in college baseball, maybe outside of the Chuck in Charles Schwab Stadium. I already said it on Twitter. You can go to that tweet. You can clip it. I don't care. You can write it down in your notebook. Put it in pen. I think Kent State's taking a game this weekend. I don't know if it's game 1, game 2, or game 3. I believe Kent State's bats are really going to be a rude awakening a rude awakening for Tennessee pitching. Tennessee pitching last week, it was good. It was good, but I wouldn't be surprised if Kent State takes a game from. I'm not going to be surprised. They are going to take a game in this series. I think they have a very good possibility to take 2 out of 3 in this series. I believe that Tennessee is very good. They'll be obviously there at the very end, super regionals, maybe even fighting for a national championship. But I think this is a wake-up call for this Tennessee team. Last year, they lose a midweek to Eastern Tennessee State. I think that this is their wake-up call. And it's like, oh, okay, Kent State is pretty good. This is a top team in the MAC. I think Kent State is going to come in here and not take care of business, but I think they're going to make some noise in Knoxville. Next up, we're going to switch from the UT block to the Texas block and Michigan State and Texas. Michigan State, number 6 in the net top 25 right now, according to Mr. Pear, taking 2 out of 3 at Louisville last week. A very convincing series win for Michigan State last week, especially on the day that their head coach gets an extension, and Jake Boss gets a 2-year extension last week. This is going to be a very fun series as well. If Michigan State proves, they don't need to prove, but if they come out here with a game, they can make some serious noise in the Big Ten this week. Not this week, but this year, as Michigan State is rolling with Aiden Donovan, Carter Monk, and Logan Peaker against Ruger Rios, Luke Harrison, Dylan Volantis for Texas. Obviously, Texas has the best pitching coach. Not the best, but one of the best pitching coaches in the country, Max Wiener. They have one of the best pitching staffs in the country, and having Ruger Rios, Luke Harrison, Dylan Volantis. Last week, there was some shock that Ruger was in that Friday role, but how does he respond? Going out there and absolute shoving. This is the first meeting between these two teams. I just wanted to hit on this a little, as this Michigan State team really made some noise last week. Parker Picott had 8 RBIs in last Saturday's win, and I'm really excited to watch this one as well. We're at the point now where you got to get every screen possible. Put it into your room and watch every game possible. This is one of those games. Last week, Adam Browski, he had 455 with a home run. Picott, one of the guys, 2 home runs, 8 RBIs last week, 286. Randy Seymour, 385, 2 home runs, 6 RBIs. And then I can just go on and on about this Texas lineup as well. They have one of the best, and they have a pretty young lineup as well. It's crazy saying young, but you have a guy like Adrian Rodriguez at shortstop, who's only a sophomore, started as a true freshman, but he's finally got shortstop all to himself now. Anthony Pack Jr. had a phenomenal weekend last week. Same with Ethan Mendoza. Ethan Mendoza's bulked up and really put on some serious muscle. I expect him to have another fantastic weekend. The Seton Hall transfer, Aiden Robbins, hit 375 last weekend with a home run and 5 RBIs. Aiden Robbins not known for his power, but Texas be able to putting on some major muscle there. Wouldn't be surprised if he starts hitting some bombs as well. Ashton Larson, Timo Becerra, Carson Tinney, 3 other key transfers coming into the Texas lineup and going off last weekend. Yes, Texas did not play the best opponent. They played UC Davis, and then they run with Lamar. But run-rolling Lamar on a weekday does really mean something, with Sam Cozart going 4 strong for them, as Jason Flores struggles out of the gate, going at any and 2/3, 3 earned there. But this Lamar team's a pretty good team as well. But Texas being able to take care of business there really sends a sign of what could happen this week in Michigan State. It could be a bloodbath, or they can take their foot off the gas pedal and struggle. Do I think they struggle? No. Jim Schlossnagle doesn't allow that to happen. But I can see Michigan State really giving them some early adversity to start it off. Next up is we're not going to talk about North Carolina, East Carolina. I was about to, but then I missed one other thing. The Live Like Lou College Baseball Classic in Jacksonville. He's not with College Baseball Central anymore, but Monty Taylor will be there. He will be there. I got to talk to Sean Stifler from Notre Dame last week, and I told him have fun with Monty. Monty's one of the best in this business, so if I would follow Monty, he's going to have phenomenal coverage of this event, and hopefully we can watch it this year, barring any D1 baseball technical difficulties like we did last year in Texas. LSU and Indiana will kick things off at 2 p.m. Eastern time. UCF and Notre Dame will be the Friday night game. Tomorrow, Notre Dame, LSU, UCF, and Indiana. And then Sunday, LSU, UCF, Indiana, Notre Dame to round it out. This is going to be a very fun one. Indiana struggled last week. They should have taken a win at UNC, but they didn't. Some very key error with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th let UNC tie it and then eventually walk it off. But this Indiana team faced some adversity earlier. You can tell what the theme is of today's episode, adversity. LSU's faced a little adversity as well. Their pitching against Milwaukee did not look the best. Case and Evans looked solid until about the 6th inning. Next thing you know, LSU's down. You're like, wait, what? No, this can't be possible. Cooper Moore's going to be getting that start against Notre Dame, which I will be glued to my TV for that one. I'll be driving up to DeLand at that point, but I will be glued to my TV for that one. As Cooper Moore gets started against Notre Dame. Notre Dame had a very good weekend in Boca Raton, Florida last week against the FAU Owls, taking 2 out of 3, losing Friday night, but taking Saturday and Sunday. LSU had a very good week. They're 5-0. They're looking to start 6-0 for the first time under Jay Johnson. Last year, they're 5-0 until I stepped foot in Alex Box Stadium in game 1 of a doubleheader between University of Nebraska-Omaha and LSU. My very first day at College Baseball Central. And LSU dropped game 1 of a doubleheader to UNO, Nebraska. They were getting no hit in that game actually till about the 7th or 8th inning. It was one of those what the heck's happening games. But LSU, I think this team's got more depth than last year. I think they're going to come out 3-0 here. Don't be shocked if UCF takes that game 3 in that series. This UCF team's very hungry. Their second year with Rich Wallace at the helm. Their third year with Rich Wallace, third year in the Big 12. This UCF team just put absolute belt to ass last week against Siena University, and then they come off a very tough midweek against Miami. And that back and forth, Vance Sheehan walk-off home run where it seemed like Miami was dead, down 5-0, getting no hit into the 6th inning. And then those Miami bats come alive, and Miami stays undefeated with that win. And yes, they were putting belt to ass on Miami for 6 innings. That was one of the more impressive. It's tough that you get that loss in extra innings, but you come out of that feeling a little bit better about yourselves. You're like, okay, just because we went and kicked some MAC school's ass doesn't mean we're not going to be one of the best. I think UCS can be in the middle of the pack in the Big 12 this year, but I wouldn't be shocked if this UCF team comes guns a-blazing. They start off Notre Dame today. Pears got Notre Dame favored by really just – I'm not going to say the number, but Notre Dame throwing Jack Riedell today. UCF is countering with, I just had that. I was just reading about it, actually. Let me double check. UCF countering with Braden Smith, who's phenomenal in last week's game, or last weekend against Siena. But yet again, Notre Dame, Jack Riedell struggled a little. When I was talking to Monty about Notre Dame, I mentioned that he didn't look the best, but then he kind of talked me off the ledge about this Notre Dame pitching staff. He said, I'm not really worried about him. They have some very young arms that Coach Sean Stifler is trying to get into those games against FAU, and they performed very well. Performed very well against the Owls, and I wouldn't be surprised. This game's gonna be a very good game. This game starts in 10 hours or something like that, 6 hours. I didn't realize it was the second game. I wish it wasn't, but going over to the other game, LSU and Indiana will kick us off here in 2 hours. LSU going with Case and Evans. Indiana struggled out of the gate last week, picking up a midweek win. Midweek win against Bradley, winning that 115-3. But they struggled against UNC last week. UNC has, again, one of the best pitching staffs in the country. Indiana going this week with I tossed an air ball corner them. Thank you. Game notes. They are going with Tony Newback today against LSU, and then they're going to be determined. That's a very interesting strategy, actually. So that'll be a series to keep an eye on. We got 2 more series to go over, and then hopefully we will be at about 11:50-ish, as they are both in the American, actually. They're an American team facing another mid-major powerhouse or another top team in the country in UNC. But first off, let's start off in Texas. DBU and UTSA. UTSA will be without Robert Orlowski Robert Orlowski again, as he is dealing with with a right shoulder injury. There's been no update to him as of yet, but this is a very fun series. 2 of the top teams, 2 of the top mid-majors. Not even 2 of the top mid-majors in Texas. They are the top 2 mid-majors in Texas, in my opinion. But also 2 of the top teams in 2 of the top colleges in Texas. This is a very, very not power hungry, but a very offensive power UTSA team, as I was looking for the rotation, but I thought I saw it. But this is a UTSA team coming off another successful weekend. They are 4-0 to start the year. UTSA obviously returning Drew Detlefson not on the mound, in their lineup, who is the American Newcomer of the Year. Andrew Stuckey behind the plate, Connor Kelly as well for the UTSA Roadrunners. UTSA going with, they don't have a rotation either. That is great. We love that. And then DBU, on the other hand, DBU had a very successful weekend as well last week, sweeping through Binghamton. Again, not one of the best teams, and Abilene Christian. But this is a very good early test for both these teams. As here we go, game notes. Pitching probables. DBU will be sending Russ Smith to the mound today. Connor Kelly will counter for UTSA. UTSA will send TBA tomorrow, with DBU sending Jared Schaefer. DBU will then counter with Ryan Borberg on Sunday, and Kendall Dove will get the start Sunday for the UTSA Roadrunners. One interesting thing, Ryan Borberg, I believe, one of the best arms in the CUSA. Getting that Sunday start, I've heard he's been struggling a lot with his command. As you can, you can't see the stats. I have my other screen here, but it's been a very, very interesting weekend for those DBU arms. This DBU lineup mashed last weekend against, again, not the best opponent. Jake Bennett had 4 home runs, hitting 500 last week. The Mississippi State transfer in Dylan Cupp having 6 RBIs. Keaton Grady, 385 with 2 RBIs last week. He's one of the best offensive bats in the CUSA. Dallas Baptist, obviously, in their last year in the CUSA before transferring to the Pac-12 for baseball only. I think UTSA's bats are going to come alive against a very struggling DBU pitching staff. I think UTSA will take 2 out of 3 here. This can be a very fun one as well. A lot of offense, a lot of pitching going to be dealing with adversity. Both these pitching staffs dealing with some early adversity. DBU struggling last week against Binghamton a little, and then UTSC obviously being down without one of their top arms in Robert Orlowski. Last but not least, let's cover the one I'm going to. Why not? Iowa and FAU. FAU, Iowa, I already posted this pitching matchup on as I'm paying someone's over-unders on rent. FAU and Iowa, the pitching matchup for this one will be Tyler Guerin for Iowa tonight against James Littman, West Boca boy, going for the Owls. Littman 1-0 with a 2.25 ERA. Guerin 0-1 with a 21 ERA. Iowa sending Logan Rund to the mound tomorrow with a 3.38 ERA. FAU's countering with Tyler Murphy, who's 0-1. Iowa's then sending Nick Terrar 1-0 with a 0 ERA on the mound Sunday. Garrett Grant on Sunday as well for the Owls. He had a phenomenal outing when I was last there for the Owls last Sunday. This is a very solid FAU team coming in at 2-2, taking the midweek. Taking the midweek against Missouri. I do have an article coming out. I had a conversation with Carrick Jackson on Tuesday right before that game. I'm very excited for everyone to see that article. That probably will be out Monday, if I had to guess. But this Iowa team, we need to talk about them. They are coming in 3-1 after a very successful weekend in Arizona. Only lost to Kansas State, losing 15-6. I'm putting this record at 2-1. I can't. Why, Andrew? Why can't you put them at 3-1? They played a D3 school. They played University of Wisconsin, Platteville. University of Wisconsin, Madison does not have a baseball team. It's a shame they don't. But I can't put 3-1. In the goodness of my heart, I can't put Iowa at 3-1. I have to look up this baseball team to see if they're any. I don't want to be ripping on them, which sounds like I am now. But what do you expect a D3 team? Some D3 teams, are good. But let me see their schedule. Oh, they haven't even played their first game. Their first game was against Iowa, and Iowa scored 34 runs on them. Welcome to your season, guys. I'm sorry. I'm getting off track, but Iowa's coming in at 3-1, coming off a 34 run outburst against University of Wisconsin Platteville. They scored 21 runs against Northeastern in a football game, 21-13. They almost outscored their whole football team last week. 21 runs against Northeastern, and then squeezing out a 4-3 win against Air Force. FAU coming in 2-2, 4-2 win over Missouri, 7-1 loss against Notre Dame, 9-1 loss, I believe, on Saturday, but no, 9-1 win on Friday, and then a 7-2 loss, I believe, on Saturday. They went 2-2 last week. I'm giving FAU the upper hand in this weekend. I think this FAU team's being heavily slept on. I wrote about the American and the Diamond Report, which if you haven't gotten your copy, what are you doing, man? It's actually, I'm using it today. I'm using it today as my laptop holder, but what are you doing? Go get your copy of the Diamond Report. I think it's still on sale. I think we haven't talked about it in a while, it feels like, but it's still on sale, I believe. I wrote about FAU and the American for the Diamond Report, and my early returns on the American have been coming in high. This American team, or not American team, this American conference is going to be so loaded this year. But FAU is sending James Ledman to the mound. I think that kid pitches with an extra fire. He pitches with that dog in him, as the kids say. FAU, I think they take tonight, but depending on tomorrow, I don't think they sweep Iowa. I think they take 2 out of 3. I think this FAU team, they'll get the bats coming, but I think their pitching's very good. Look for Kai Adetoye coming out of the bullpen after Littman today. He is a phenomenal arm. He's one of the best bullpen arms in the American. Now, last but not least, North Carolina and East Carolina. I had to save the best for last. I'm sorry. But East Carolina and North Carolina, this is probably the best one. We are going to have Quentin Mills and Smitty. We're going to have Smitty there in Greenville tonight. Trying to find his name. It just goes as Smitty. Yeah, we're just going to have Smitty and Quentin Mills at East Carolina tonight. This is, well, they're kind of going all over the Carolinas. They open in Greenville, go to Durham tomorrow, and then close it in Chapel Hill. This is going to be a very fun one. Ethan Norby versus Jason DeCaro. Gavin Van Kempen versus Volker Bose. Colby Weber versus Ryan Lynch. This is going to be a very, very fun one. It's going to be low scoring. I don't like talking gambling on the show. I post my picks every day. Depending on what the over-under is, which should be out now, it's set at 10.5 on Bovada. I would be placing a lot of money on the under. Not gambling advice. But you got 2 of the best starters in the country in Ethan Norby. Ethan Norby is one of the best pitchers in the country. Same with Jason DeCaro. I don't really like. I think I have to favor North Carolina and the experienced bats. ECU is very young, and I just think North Carolina can do everything. They can do everything right. If East Carolina makes one little mistake, North Carolina is going to take advantage of it. I'm going to give North Carolina the upper hand here, but let's talk about some of these guys. North Carolina comes in with a very successful weekend last week. They are coming in off a series win against Indiana, obviously, and they run-ruled Richmond and squeaked out a win 5-3 against Longwood. The big talk here, McCon Winslow, Gavin Gallagher, Jake Schaffner, and Colin Hennick, all 4 of those guys hitting over 300. And the big one, Colin Hennick, has 7 RBIs on the year, 7 hits in his first 17 at bats, if I'm doing my math correctly there. ECU struggled offensively last week against Xavier, and that's another reason. Do I think a lot of runs are going to be scored? No. I think these pitching staffs are 2 of the best in the country. East Carolina's bats have struggled so much where it's only, okay, North Carolina, they can plug some guys in there. But I think, especially with these guys, pitch counts getting built up now. All 3 of those UNC starters went 5 innings last week. I think we can start seeing them go 6 or longer in the game this week. But I think ECU is going to struggle again against UNC. But that puts me at 51 minutes on the dot. Not on the dot, but 51 minutes. We have 9 minutes till first pitch. In the 9 minutes until Michigan and Florida State actually kick off. That is perfect. A little, if you really care about some of these scores, LaSalle and Delaware State are tied at 4. Texas Southern's over Jackson State 2-1. Illinois State up 3-0 on UMass Lowell. VCU and Illinois up right now, or VCU's up 3-0 on Illinois, who struggled against USF last week. But we got some really good games coming up here. We got Michigan, Florida State, which will be free on the Flow Sports YouTube. You don't have to pay $30 for Flow Sports. We got Ohio State and Louisiana Tech coming up at 1 p.m. LSU, Indiana coming up at 2 p.m. And then a bunch of other good ones coming up later today. If you're a big fan of Feeding the Trees, Sanford and Georgia coming up at 3 p.m. Purdue, Southern Miss at 3 p.m. to kick off the Round Rock Classic. But that is it from me. My name's Andrew Riedell. Thank you for tuning in today. I love you all. I will see you guys back here Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to break down all the best games from this week in college baseball. And let's have a weekend. Good night. Or not good night. Good afternoon.